Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. A new future lies ahead for the Lazy KT Motel in downtown Billings. The motel was bought earlier in the month by a group called Empire Entrepreneurs with plans to tear the structure down. It's been a center of police activity in recent years. After tonight's Billings City Council meeting, the demolition of that motel will move forward with the help of TIF district dollars. Q2's Mitch Legge joins us now with more.
At its Monday night meeting, the Billings City Council approved an ask from the new owners of the Lazy KT Motel in downtown Billings to use TIF district money to demolish the building. Council members noted the building was a hub for crime, with the property receiving 338 calls for public safety services over the past 2 years. A group of business owners surrounding the property formed a group called Empire Entrepreneurs and bought the motel up earlier in July with plans to demolish the structure. The council unanimously approved a project application to the Billings Industrial Revitalization District. The TIF district will now pay $98,000 for a pre-demo inspection, asbestos abatement, and total demolition of the property. Councilmember Roy Neese said the demolition is a long time coming.
There was issues there. I think property value is going to go up in the neighborhood, because they're not having to be dodging bullets. So I think this is a good project. I hate to kind of see that we may be rewarding the seller of the property because now we're kind of buying him out of his problem. But at the same time, let's just move on with this and let's get this done.
As of yet, the new owners of the Lazy KT have no plans on what will replace the motel. In Billings, Mitch Legge, MTN News.
It was also noted at the council meeting that the neon Lazy KT sign will be saved and given a new home. An armed and dangerous inmate is still on the loose tonight after overpowering an officer and stealing a minivan in Park County. 34-year-old Jordan Linday was last seen this morning on Highway 89 around mile marker 11 northwest of Livingston. Linday was brought to the Park County Detention Center on Saturday on drug paraphernalia charges, eventually taken to Livingston Health Care. That's where the Park County Sheriff says he turned on an officer, got away with his handgun and keys to the detention center van. Officers recovered the detention center van along with his jail uniform shirt, but believe Linday escaped by stealing a 2000 Chrysler minivan with Montana license plate 49662-7D. The situation has renewed conversation on how incidents like this can be prevented in the future.
From my standpoint as a sheriff, I like to think that our policies are very well written and our practices are done well, and for the most part they really are. But then you have something like this that happens, and it dictates policy. You just have to go back and look at that and say, okay, these are some things that we're going to have to change because of this one particular incident.
Well, the guard did suffer minor injuries in that incident, but is at home tonight. If you see Linday, you're asked not to approach him and immediately call the Park County Sheriff's Department at 406-222-2050. An investigation into a fire started after the explosion of a Pepsi machine is now in the hands of Billings police. But those involved say this is just the latest fire started in this manner. Here's Q2's Andrea Lutz with how innocent business owners are now paying the price.
A criminal investigation is underway after businesses here on Grand Avenue were set on fire over the weekend. So while police are trying to figure out who's responsible, one of these businesses is still trying to stay open. When fire swept through these businesses early Sunday morning,
wedding dresses, bride's dresses.
It did so much more than just ignite.
We've got a lot of bridesmaids dresses, all of these. This set is for next weekend.
Here at Alterations and More, seamstress Deb Ferguson shows us the impact the fire had on their business.
Yeah, these are my Letterman's coats I have to have cleaned.
Now these precious garments, soiled in smoke, will have to be cleaned. The fire started sometime before 3 in the morning. Ferguson got the call.
I couldn't wrap my head around it.
The Billings Fire Department says it was a pop machine sitting out front that exploded.
And they didn't get specific until later after they cleaned it up, but they said someone had blown it up maliciously.
But it is a different story at the bike shop where Scott Barber says they were left unscathed.
We ended up being very, very lucky because we started moving out last November and got fully out in January.
All of it moved just yards away, except for their signs.
Fortunately or unfortunately, we just left the sign up there.
He believes the fire could be a signal for other businesses to hone in on.
Pretty strange timing that it happens, around town at a couple other places.
And for the customers who come looking for their garments, Deb says they have a plan.
Going to try to get set up in another building as quickly as possible, because we do have a lot of awfully great customers.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
The bike shop's former location since the 1980s suffered quite a bit of burn damage, while alterations and more saw heavy smoke damage, all resulting in some $50,000 in damages. Montana wildland firefighters still have their hands full as fires continue to explode across Montana. The Devil's Creek fire in Garfield County, which injured 5 firefighters Thursday night, has grown nearly 8,000 acres in the last 24 hours, now sits at 11,000 acres burned. That increased activity has forced the closure of Devil's Creek Road and the evacuation of Devil's Creek Recreation Area. As of now, there's 0% containment on that blaze, which is being fought by federal and county fire crews. That fire is burning about 35 miles northwest of Jordan toward the Charles M. Russell Wildlife Refuge in Fort Peck Lake. Recreationists asked to stay clear of the area as firefighters work to contain the flames. Only one of the 5 firefighters who were injured in that blaze Thursday night remains in the hospital at this hour. In western Montana, the Elder Creek fire continues to be a top priority in the entire nation as the fire continues to spread in all directions, and crews believe it will be threatening more than 200 primary structures in the next 72 hours. That fire, which is burning south of Butte and west of Wise River, crossed Elder Creek last night due to high winds and is now burning nearly 9,000 acres on both sides of the drainage. Fire officials say the blaze has potential for large growth and will threaten numerous structures along Highway 43 and the Pioneer Mountain Scenic Byway. Several evacuation orders and road closures are already in place. More could follow as that fire spreads. Nearly 400 firefighters are currently battling those flames. Well, time for a quick look at weather with meteorologist Matthew Hidalgo, and we've been saying it a lot, another day, another record in the Magic City.
Yes, we did break a record today. Let's take a look. Billings broke their previous record set in 1959 at 101 degrees. Sheridan, Miles City, and Livingston just a few degrees off. This could be due to more smoke moving into the area, keeping those high temperatures down. As we take a look at a picture sent in by Bradley Parker, you can see the moon has a bit of an orangish tint to it. That's due to that more smoke moving into the area. Looking at the Billings Almanac here, to put into perspective, the average temperature around this time of year is 89, and we did add to our streak as we are at now 12 consecutive days in a row of 90 degrees or higher. We will have the full forecast in just a bit. Back to you, Russ.
All right, thank you, Matthew. Tomorrow in Washington, D.C., Wyoming Representative Liz Cheney and a House Select Committee will launch its investigation into the deadly January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The hearing promises to be a comprehensive look into the causes and security failures surrounding the insurrection. Chris Van Cleve has details on what we can expect.
Video from D.C. police officer Mike Fanone's body camera shows the violence up close on January 6th.
I was pretty severely beaten.
He's one of 4 officers set to testify Tuesday about their harrowing experience. But the committee Fanone will appear before is itself under attack. Right now made up of just 7 Democrats and 2 anti-Trump Republicans, Liz Cheney and newly appointed Adam Kinzinger. Last week, Speaker Pelosi rejected 2 of Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's picks for the panel, so he polled all 5. Today, McCarthy called the committee probe a predetermined sham and took aim at Cheney and Kinzinger.
Adam and Liz? Aren't they kind of like Pelosi Republicans?
It's childish. We're doing big things right now. We're getting to the answers of the worst attack on the Capitol since the War of 1812. You can call me whatever names you want.
Some Republicans want to punish Kinzinger and Cheney for participating. Ohio's Jim Jordan, who Speaker Pelosi booted off the panel, says their constituents should make that decision.
Let the voters in those respective districts decide. My hunch is the voters in Illinois and Wyoming are going to probably want someone different to represent them in the next Congress.
Perhaps in an effort to be more bipartisan, Cheney will make one of 2 opening statements at the beginning of Tuesday's hearing. She will follow the Democratic committee chairman. The committee is also expected to rely heavily on video, some of which will be images the public may not have seen before. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Washington.
Former Senator Mike Enzi of Wyoming is hospitalized following a bike accident that happened Friday in Gillette. Enzi was life-flighted to a hospital in Colorado. Enzi's family confirmed in a statement that Enzi did suffer serious injuries but did not disclose the extent of them. The 77-year-old Republican retired from the Senate this past January. State officials in Montana say the Treasure State is way ahead of other states in deciding how to spend its $900 million of discretionary federal COVID-19 relief funds. There's a slight problem in allocating some of the longer-term money. Mike Foster is in charge of coordinating Montana's spending of funds from the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA. On Monday, he told one of the commissions making recommendations on how to spend those dollars that Montana won't get half the actual money until next June. And he said the feds haven't said whether Montana can obligate that money now as it gets ready to make spending decisions. The state plans to spend about $400 million on infrastructure, including water and sewer projects, and another $275 million on expanding access to high-speed internet, which would involve longer-term contracts to companies. The commission making recommendations on infrastructure spending meets tomorrow at the state capitol. Well, a moving ceremony in Pablo today as a flag symbolizing the ties between the state of Montana and its many tribes is returned. Montana Governor Greg Gianforte came to the Mission Valley to return the flag of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. It was the first flag to be displayed as part of the Tribal Flag Plaza outside the Montana Capitol in Helena. The plaza was dedicated last year to honor the 8 tribes in Montana, including the CSKT tribes in the Flathead. Governor Gianforte presented that flag to the Tribal Council. Then the Tribal Honor Guard folded it and placed it in a ceremonial box where it will remain on display.
Now, after completing its service and before it becomes worn and frayed, the Confederate Salish Kootenai flag has now been retired and returned to use while a fresher replacement continues to fly in Helena.
It's been replaced with a brand new flag, but it was appropriate that I came and presented it back to the tribal leadership. It is important, and we have a strong partnership with the tribes, and we look to cultivate it, to come alongside them, to find ways how we can advance the interests of our shared communities.
That ceremony was held outside the tribal headquarters in Pablo in front of the memorial honoring the many tribal veterans who've served over the decades. Still ahead on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2, we'll wade through the new water restrictions for Billings and learn how it will help the city in dealing with this drought. Then later in sports, football's in the air as the Big Sky Conference kicks the preseason off with its media day. We'll tell you how the Grizz and Cats are being picked to finish this year.